Hey Game Show fans, it's me! I'm back with another 10 from my top 100 UK game shows of all time. Thank you so much for coming back for another video. I really do appreciate it. Today I'll be going through my number 90 to my number 81. And today's list is a real trip down memory lane. Shall we get on with it? Here is my number 90 to number 81. So my number 90 game show is very much of its era, but there's no question it's got one of the best endgames of all time.
It's wacky, it's fun, it's crazy, it's outrageous! Funhouse, a whole lot of fun, prizes to be won. It's a real crazy show where anything will go. Funhouse, quiz is a race, real wacky place. Use your body and your brain if you want to play the game.
It's time for Funhouse. Wacky contestants, messy games, the Fun Car Grand Prix race, and a crazy chase to win lots of prizes. Now here's the guy who puts the fun into Funhouse, Pat Shaw!
Bouncy, 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 bouncy. Oh.
So my number 90 is the Gungy game show Funhouse. Something I very much grew up with and something that was an absolute important part of my Fridays, coming back from school and seeing Funhouse. I don't love everything about Funhouse. I just think the end game of Funhouse is such a carrot to watch the rest of the show, that you can kind of put up with its weaknesses. The rest of the show I'm not that bothered with. I think some of the Gungy games that led up to the sort of go-karts were a bit boring. Sometimes not really much of a move on from Double Dare. And the go-karts, having watched them now, are so slow.
4, 3, 2, 1, go!
But at the time they seemed so exciting, but it hasn't aged well. But the Funhouse is absolutely one of the best endgames of all time. I love how the prizes are tags around the Funhouse. I love the different obstacles. I love that sort of VT where they go through where all the prizes are, and that's really exciting. And I really like that special prize which they have the cockerel effect of, which if they find is the super prize, and that's when they get to play a general knowledge question for the big prize. Just watching that Funhouse for 2 minutes or however long it was really, really exciting. It just looked so different from anything else that was on children's TV at that time. It was just so big and bold and brash with this super exciting endgame that literally any kid in Britain would have wanted to have been on. And that is the reason that it is my number 90, Funhouse. Number 89 on my list would be the game show, probably out of all 100, that I would be worst at.
Here's the man who never forgets the lyrics. It's Shane Ritchie.
So my number 89 is Sky One's Don't Forget the Lyrics. Now, the central idea to this show is what makes it work. The idea of using karaoke lyrics as questions is something that's very relatable. Most people are either really, really good at knowing lyrics or really bad like me, and knowing lyrics, I literally know no lyrics to anything, despite loving pop songs. That element of this is so strong that makes this feel a very unique game show. But it's also executed really well. Shane Ritchie's really, really good as a host. The gameplay's really interesting, and the fact that they have to be word perfect is also a sort of quite new mechanic and makes this feel exciting. I love the fact that they have to sing the songs to get into the questions, and actually that's would feel like filler in a lot of other shows, but in this show it feels really important because you're really waiting to see which lyrics they have to know, and that's an exciting reveal. I love the way they pick the genres of music. It's just a really good music game show, and just really strongly plays into the fact it's a music game show, and that's why this feels exciting. But actually it does all those sorts of millionaire beats really well as well, with the lifelines and just the drama of it, and it feels like at every moment of that show there's really difficult decisions to be made, and actually every question is filled with jeopardy, because it's very easy to get one word wrong, but at the same time never feels unfair. So that's why I really respect Don't Forget the Lyrics, and I find myself watching it occasionally, and that is my number 89, Don't Forget the Lyrics. My number 88 game show is an absolute bona fide classic, and it could have been higher on this list, but it could have been lower too. So my number 88 is Play Your Cards Right. Another Bruce Forsyth classic, a game show that gets revived over and over again, and for very good reason. It's a really good game. Just a higher lower thing, it's just something anyone can understand. I really like the survey questions in this. I think that's a really good mechanic of just making it very relatable, and it's sort of the contestants are couples, and all the questions are sort of designed to be about people, so the couple sort of end up squabbling with each other about what the answers are and sort of pushing their opinions forward, which is always really good TV. Reveals very good, higher lower. I really like the fact there's nothing for a pair not in this game. I like that element. Bruce Forsyth again is absolutely fantastic in this show. If there's one weakness this show has, it might be its endgame. It's not the greatest endgame, it's certainly not the greatest endgame of the Bruce Forsyth game shows, but that main game is so good and so strong, and that's why it keeps coming back, and I really like it every time it comes back. So that is why Play Your Cards Right is my number 88. Now you're not going to believe this, guys, but sometimes I'm accused of being too nostalgic. Who'd have thought it? But my number 87 proves that sometimes I can like a kids game show from after my time. Here it is.
Paul! Cup of tea.
So my number 87 is the absolutely wonderful To Me, To You from the Chuckle Brothers. I couldn't not put this on my list. I just think it's an absolutely great kids game show. I love the way it looks, I love the sort of desert island feel of it. I love the dice, and that being a mechanic, and I actually think that's a really clever idea of using the Chuckle Brothers catchphrase To Me, To You to make a sort of game show out of that, and I really think it works well. I like the fact the kids pick up prizes, I like the fact that they do sort of spot games and they go off and behind the scenes and play them. And nothing in this show is particularly original or that funny. But everything in the game show is executed so well and done so slickly that I think that's why it's so good. The Chuckle Brothers are really great as hosts in this. You wouldn't sort of think of them as obvious game show hosts, but they're really, really good. And I definitely watched To Me, To You when I shouldn't have been. And the reason for that is because it's a great game show, and that's why it has to be on my list. My number 87, To Me, To You. To me, to you, to me, to you, to me, to you. Number 87. So my number 86 is a really great daytime game show.
It's Crosswords. And here's your host, Tom O'Connor.
My number 86 is Crosswits, hosted so ably by the wonderful Tom O'Connor. I like this show because the crossword puzzles at the centre of this show are just so addictive. I really like just the normal puzzles, but there's this sort of cryptic puzzle they do every show where basically all the words are clues to a secret word. That's kind of got that sort of only connect vibe to it, trying to work out what the connection between all the words is. The end game in this, where they're just doing a really large crossword, is really fun as well, and it's actually really hard. But I also very much enjoyed the dynamic between the sort of celebrity and sort of normal contestants, kind of an American thing we don't see in many game shows over here now, but in this show it really is fun. It's a game show about crosswords. That's really all there is to it. But as game shows about crosswords go, this is probably the best a game show about crosswords could be. And a lot of people like crosswords. I don't particularly, but I like this show. And that's why Crosswits is my number 86. Now, last list, I had a National Lottery game show. And here comes another at number 85.
Previously on Who Dares Wins, primary school teacher Claire and piano teacher Darren met for the very first time. They knocked reigning champions Chrissy and Joe off the top spot.
I have to tell you, polo is not on the list. We have new champions.
They played their first money list.
Friday the 13th is not on the list.
They didn't win any money last week, but can they win big tonight? Find out now on Who Dares Wins.
So my number 85 is National Lottery Who Dares Wins. Or now, just Who Dares Wins. It's a game show that survived the National Lottery. That sort of shows how good it is. This is a show I like to joke that the title could literally apply to any game show ever. It's so nothingy. But I really like Who Dares Wins. There's loads of game shows that do lists. This is one of the ones that does it better than most. It's fun, the whole bidding thing. It's very simple. I like the way they're I like the way they pair the contestants together at random so they don't know each other, but actually this really works on the show because they have to trust people they don't know. The lists they choose are really well written and really fun, and I really like the end game. Where it's more of a rolling end game where they have to come up with 3 on a list. That's one you like. £5,000. Do you want to play on for another 3 for £10,000? It's just such a solid watch. I can't imagine Who Dares Wins being on and particularly wanting to turn over the TV. So that's why it's on my list, and that's why Who Dares Wins is my number 85. Oh. Number 84 is just a show that's like a warm hug to me. It's a daytime show from my childhood that I absolutely love.
It's Lucky Ladders, and welcome this morning's challengers, Iris Wheatley and Ivy Ryan, their sisters from Derby. And our reigning champions are Pamela and Rebecca Hodkin, mother and daughter. Pamela is from St. Asaph and Rebecca is from Manchester. And now, here's that lovable, laughing ladders laddie, Lenny Bennett!
So my number 84 is Lucky Ladders, so wonderfully hosted by Lenny Bennett. The game at the centre of this show is just really fun. If you're watching this in America, this show is basically chain reaction. So how the game works is there's a word ladder. So there's a word at the top of the ladder, there's a word at the bottom of the ladder, and basically you're trying to find out the words that go in between. So for instance, if the word at the top was net, the one below it might be ball, the word below that might be sports, but you could also build up from the bottom. Basically how the gameplay works is when it's your couple's turn, a letter, you can choose the top or the bottom, a letter's revealed, and if you can guess the word you win points or cash. I can't quite remember which it was, but that game is just so fun. It was a really fun daytime show. Lenny Bennett was great, and sometimes things like this happened.
You need one more correct answer and you're still champions.
I'll take a letter under boxing, please.
D. Not this time. You're still in the game, Lynn. Still win it.
Take a letter under boxing, please.
It's the letter A. Boxing.
Danger?
No, not danger. With you, Pamela.
I'll take a letter under boxing, please.
I am delighted to tell you that I can't give you another letter. It would complete the word, and Rebecca will say...
Dad?
No. How do you think, Pamela? She was fairly close, wasn't she? Yes. Lynn, what would you like?
I'll take a letter in the box.
I won't be giving you a letter either. It's DA, and it isn't Dad. What is it, Pamela?
Is it DAP?
It's not a DAP. No, it's Pamela.
I'll take a letter under boxing, please.
Go on. Tell me, Rebecca. Rebecca, please tell me. I can't take any more of this. It's a joke. Camera's going to arrive any second. Time's up. Lynn, with you.
I'll take another letter under boxing, please.
It's not DAP, it's not Dad. What is it?
Dan?
Dan? No, not boxing, Dan. This is really great. I love it. I'll take your time, Pamela.
I'll take a letter under boxing, please.
Can't give you a letter, it will complete the word. Speak to me. Nobody shout out, this is fascinating. This could make a whole series on its own. Rebecca, time's up. You want one, she can't have one. What's the word?
I'll take it.
Day! Yes! Oh, that's a shame she gets it. I was enjoying that. That was great. Okay, we move on from boxing DAP. We've got Day and Boy. Lynn.
I think I have to put the success of this show down to Lenny. He's just so good on this. And I really, really loved growing up with this show. And that's why my number 84 is Lucky Ladders. So, Internet, I've been preparing myself mentally for number 83 because I know you're not going to like it, but I like it. So if we could just all together, just come on, breathe in with me. Come on, breathe in. That's nice. Breathe out. Breathe in, get all that rage out. Breathe out all the rage going out of your body. Okay.
The time, the future. The place, deep space. Aboard the mothership Scavenger, the shuttlecraft Vulture prepares for takeoff. At the helm, Commander John Leslie, accompanied by a trainee rookie squad. Their mission, to locate the stricken cargo ship Cyclops, legacy of a long-gone intergalactic war. To scavenge, salvage and survive with honor. These are the Scavengers.
Can I come out? Can I? My number 83 is Scavengers. I'm sorry, Internet. I don't care though. I don't care. I think this game show has slightly unfairly been written off as a bad game show. It's actually... I mean, it's a mega flop, isn't it? To spend all that money on that unbelievably ridiculous futuristic set and not have a big hit show at the end of it is an absolute disaster. But that doesn't mean it's a bad game show. And actually, I thought it was quite good at the time, and I still think it's quite good. And actually, the cheesiness of John Leslie running around and the sort of cyborg woman, to me makes this like schlocky and fun to watch, not something bad. It is bad, it's so bad it's good. But I think sometimes the games in this show get unfairly written off as boring. This is a world where Gladiators was massive, but this show, the games felt tough. They felt like really like harsh and hard and difficult to do. In a way that Gladiators sort of soft play centre kind of thing, it didn't feel like that. It felt like a more hardcore version of Gladiators. And that was something I found very exciting when I watched it first time. That set is unbelievable. It just looks great. It's a shame they haven't got the actors to go with it. But that's derelict spaceship is such a brave, clever idea, and I like to reward that on this list. Now, all that said, all those sort of cheesy, schlocky, funny factors, and the fact I quite like the games, that's not enough to put what most perceive to be a bad show onto my list over good shows. But the reason this is on my list is because I love the endgame so much. So throughout the show they've been collecting cargo, and then basically what they have to do on the endgame is get it onto the ship and escape with it. But that's not so easy because they have to get across this like rope pulley system where they're having to like pull all the heavy boxes and stuff across. But this becomes really dramatic because the rules is to escape with the points that they're worth. You have to be on the ship with it, and there's a countdown, and if they're not aboard the ship by the time it leaves, they get stuck aboard the derelict. There's this one amazing moment where one of the scavengers gets their foot stuck in a rope just as they're about to escape, and they're literally going, "No, take me with you, no!" And it's so epic, and it could be in any movie ever. And I like that about this show. It sort of does create those movie moments, and like nowadays we seem to be obsessed with game shows that create movie moments, and this one actually did it, but it got slagged off for doing it. I don't think it deserves slagging off. I'm here to champion Scavengers. Yes, it had its weak point. Yes, John Leslie was terrible, but there was a good game show at the centre of this, and it's the sort of game show you're never going to see again. That's my number 83, Scavengers. So for my number 82, guys, I know I said that I would put no US game shows on my list in my last video. That's still true, but this game show is on my list because I love the US version so much, I can take the less good UK version as well. Here it is.
Behind these squares is a puzzle. If you can solve it, you could win the trip of a lifetime as we play Concentration. Here is the host of Concentration, Bob Carroll-Gees.
So my number 82 is Concentration. Now, classic Concentration in the US is just one of my favourite game shows ever. I just love everything about it. The UK version of classic Concentration isn't as good. It sort of misses some of the elements, but it's still got most of the DNA, and it's a show I really like, so that's why it's on my list. So basically, for anyone who's not seen Concentration, so there's two parts to this game. Firstly, there's like a pairs game, so they pick from a board and they pick pairs, and if they reveal the pairs, they reveal prizes, which they win, and they go onto their side, which is kind of exciting in the first place, albeit the UK prizes were obviously a lot worse. And then the second part of this game is there's a rebus puzzle, sort of a bit catchphrase-esque, but not catchphrase, underneath, and that's what they're trying to guess. If they can get two of them right, they go through to the end game. That puzzle at the centre and the reveal in this game is just too much fun. I don't particularly like the hosting in this show. I'm sort of not a massive fan of their set. It's got this dark 80s thing, which really doesn't look as good as the American game show, and I wish they stuck closer to that. But the puzzle and the pairs at the centre of the show are so much fun that I enjoy watching it for that. So that's why it's on my list as my number 82, Concentration. Also, has anyone ever noticed they've just stolen the catchphrase sound effects for their endgame?
12, 14, no much. 8, 12, much. 15, 9, no much. 6, 15, much. 3.
Oh, Joe! You got yourself right in the mire there, didn't you?
So guys, I'm ready for number 81. One of the most iconic game shows of all time, with one of the greatest theme songs of all time. Maestro!
Brian James from Crayford in Kent, Terry Neal from Cheltenham, Tony Jennett from Pendragon in Anglesey, Glyn Thomas from Watford in Hertfordshire, David Slater from Fulwell in Sunderland, Chris Walger from Hythe in Kent, Helen Cox from Blaenavon in Gwent, Wendy Green from Birmingham, Stephen Hodgson from Glasgow, Raymond Coe from Lincoln, Peter Thomas from Swansea, Charles Newson from Beckenham in Kent, Leo Atkin from Horton in Lancashire, Daphne Robson from York, and Olive Snow from Romford in Essex are all here to play 15 to 1. 1. Introduced by William G. Stewart.
So my number 81 is 15 to 1. This is a game show I absolutely loved. It felt very fresh when I first saw it. I'd never seen a game show that was quite that confrontational and quite so dismissive of contestants. It's great just going, get one question wrong, get another one wrong, sit down in darkness and stay there for the rest of the show because you ain't getting up. We're not interested in you. It was kind of this like very brutal thing, and it was a very Channel 4 game show, and the sort I wish they made more like that, just brutal, like we don't care about you as a contestant, go away, you're done. But also this game show is very good at making heroes out of people who are amazing at quizzing. I really like that end game sort of question or nominate. That's really exciting. The idea of getting rid of your opponents and then trying to rack up the points. I don't think I've really seen anything like that on any other game show. But just the way this game show looked, the set is amazing. I love the sound effects and that theme song, guys. I mean, that theme song, how can that not amp you up for a show? It's just one of the greatest, not game show themes, TV themes of all time. William G. Stewart is a genius for coming up with the show, I believe, and hosting it so well and so seriously, and with those upside sort of vertical question cards. This game show is just trying so hard to be different, and it definitely achieves that. And because of that, it's an iconic game show from the 80s and 90s. I actually quite like the revival as well. I think that's quite fun and strong. And I really like about this show that leaderboard that carries over a series, that really hooks you in and really makes you want to watch the next show and go, cool, is so-and-so going to get knocked off the leaderboard? And just the voiceover sort of reminding everyone what was at stake. 6 players were eliminated in round 1, but 3 players still have all their lives. That's just stuff game show fans love. I love all those things about 15 to 1, and that is why it's my number 81. So that's it, guys. Another 10 shows done, 80 to go, and now it's starting to get tricky because whilst I like all these shows, I'm really starting to love the ones that are coming up next. I'll join you next week when I go through 10 more. Now if you don't mind me, I'm off to get some keyboard lessons.